Hello class and welcome to this Clash at Demonhead NES walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and who can forget the summer of 1990X? That was a good one. Nice shot of some crabs right there. I love the, this is a strange game right at the top. We'll be saying that so many times throughout the course of this walkthrough, but this is our main character, Bang, and his girlfriend, Mary, relaxing on the beach. My numbers come up again, another call from headquarters. The inventor of the Doomsday Bomb, Professor Plum, has been kidnapped. I've got to rescue him. Good luck. I'll stay here. Relaxing on the beach. I'll take that trade. Anyway, Clash of Demonhead. A strange title, a decently difficult title for the NES. In terms of difficulty, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, which on the frustration scale equates to punching a hole through the wall, probably out of pure frustration at simply not knowing where to go. There's over 40 routes. This game is anything but linear. You're required to see certain people, obtain certain items before you can progress to other areas, sometimes on the opposite side of the map. It's a lot like Metroid in that way, in that it encourages a lot of exploration, but we're going to suck all the adventure out of that concept in this game by telling you what we believe to be pretty much the most efficient route to completing this very strange game. Just look at the cover and that'll tell you all you need to know. I do love this cover though. I mean, this is what you think of when you think NES. This is what you want out of an NES cover.
I love it too, Professor. It's epic levels of cheese.
Definitely. I mean, you got the rail-thin damsel with her especially pointy chest, standing on the hopscotch of the future.
The Kevin Bacon-looking hero with the hotshot Sarah Charlie Sheen-tied headband. The rest of his outfit looking like someone's merging of Tron and Running Man.
Yeah, if they didn't actually see either movie.
And while the guy's not like a teenager or anything, if you look closer, the lady looks like she could easily be in her 60s.
Just got off her graveyard midnight to 6 a.m. shift waitressing at the restaurant in the casino. And it's not one of the nice, well-known casinos, you know.
Nah, it's not the Bellagio. I'm talking off-strip. Off even.
Meanwhile, Kevin Bacon's given this skeleton creature a mouthful of ecto cooler with his refreshment gun. Probably works in some kind of hospitality role at one of the other less prestigious casinos that's, just trying to compete. But yeah, that's how the two met in Vegas.
Probably at the hairdresser's. That alien on the left reaching in like he's in need of some refreshment, gesturing as if to say, well, I ordered my ray gun delivered ecto cooler at least 10 minutes ago now. But that's fair. It's a hot day.
I guess I didn't read into it enough. I was just thinking, don't look now, Kevin Bacon, because that alien looks like he's about to steal your wallet.
Which is gonna make taking Starla out for that steak dinner you promised her a lot more difficult. I guess until you shoot someone for a fresh 950.
And I mean, it is generally even money, class, as you learn that we're going to be carrying just shy of 100 grand on us.
Got the paraplegic guy flying in on the side. Guy figured if his legs didn't work, he might as well just go ahead and get the surgery where they fuse your top half with a hover bike.
Yeah, the evil demon subsidizes the cost of the procedure to help this guy get around in trying to kill you.
Kind of like how Starbucks covers their employees' college tuition, but here you get a bike for legs.
At least the demon's an equal opportunity employer. Thanks, Fluff. That's always a good time. Alright, as we begin a new game here in Clash at Demonhead, we'll see the overworld map here. We'll see this again every time we reach the exit of our current route, and then they'll give you a choice, when applicable, to choose your next destination from that junction. We'll get an ability later which will allow us to warp around to the routes or the junction points we've already visited, so that'll help us. But here at the start, let's take a look at the controls for Clash of Demonhead. Standard fare with attack and jump with B and A respectively. Note that they have a slightly different application on that map screen. And also note that you can crouch walk by holding down and moving left or right, useful against certain bosses, avoiding damage in some cases. We can enter and exit the item screen with select and pause the game with start. As we run into Tom Guycot, yes, that is his name as it appears on his driver's license. Tom Guycot, the chief of the governors, letting us know that there are 7 governors, aka for our purposes, bosses, in this game. Actually, there's more bosses than that, but we still need to take down these governors to grab pieces of the medallion to further the game. But yeah, some of the other TAs, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we've reached the end of our first route, that first Route 1 right there. So now we can tap B to choose a new route. We're going to go straight north here. Our first goal is going to be going to that kind of cul-de-sac on the left once we clear through this route here. But yeah, a lot of the enemies' projectiles don't move too quickly in this game, so it's not too difficult to avoid damage. You can also get back health relatively easily through a couple of means. Should also mention, didn't mention this as part of the controls, but you can tap A when you're on the surface of the water to stay on top of that. You'll find that very slowly you lose some health as we're going to go to the left here with Route 5. You'll find that you lose a little bit of health when you submerge your head multiple times underwater. It'll take away a health point, so it's yeah, it's kind of annoying. There's no way to avoid that outside of just skipping on top of the water's surface, but not too big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. But let's finally now take a look at the Briggs notes for this Clash at Demonhead NES walkthrough, the keys to beating this game. First, mention it in the opening, follow this guide for the most efficient route to beating this game pretty much as quickly as possible with as little backtracking as possible. Jump on the water, I just mentioned that to avoid taking some cheap damage. And spend your money, don't sit on your money. I like shooting allies, they just shout out no. And lastly, use Gary's boss beaters for tips on taking down the bosses here in Clash at Demonhead. So this character here informs us that there is gold if we continue on to the left. Gold is a good thing. This is also the location of the only brick and mortar shop. Brick and mortar being a relative term. Not sure why Ron Jeremy is the shopkeep here. He's got one of his many illegitimate children helping him man it, but grab yourself the $7,000 item right there in the middle. If you need some more cash, then just take down some of those baddies in the surrounding areas before you come back. If for any reason he's not showing an item there, just leave this area and come back, and he should have it in stock for you to purchase. But equip that so we can go underwater for a limited amount of time, as Blaze is going to cover here in just a moment. But we're going to proceed with caution while trying to get through here as quickly as possible at the same time, because we only have so much oxygen and we need to come back this way as well. So as soon as you come out, thankfully it doesn't cost you air once you're outside of the water, but we can go back into our inventory by hitting select and then tapping A on that item again to unequip it. But come over here to the left corner and shoot through these blocks here to, most importantly, top off your health right now. But we're going to go all the way down to the bottom of this gold mine area, and you will find a bunch of bars of gold hidden in these blocks which we can destroy. And we're aiming to max out our count at 99. We have 6 right now, so it's going to go ahead, climb out of here, repeat this process until we have 99. And this affords us a perfect opportunity in the downtime to learn what we're picking up and what we have been picking up with Blaze.
It's Blaze's best year in Item Sky. Alright, let's talk about the items you can find from defeating enemies here in Clash at Demonhead, beginning with the Hermit Apple. This adds 10 points to your force total. Note that this is capped at 99 until you gain your first ability, which you'll get later on in the game. Secondly, we have the Power Heart. This restores 1 health. You have money. This adds $950 to your total. Note that your money caps out at $99,990, so don't be precious with those dollars, especially after you exchange your gold at Susie's exchange. The professor will talk more about that, but yeah, you can stock up on gold early on in the game, or just find it out and about. And yeah, Susie will exchange this for cash later on, and this caps at 99.
Yep, easy way to make a lot of money, albeit in the final third of the game, but being that it's so close to the beginning here, I like to stock up at the very top. So while we are still working our way to 99, let's bring in Blaze to demystify those items which were in Ron Jeremy's shop here in Clash at Demonhead.
Alright, let's cover the items you can purchase in the shop here in Clash at Demonhead, beginning with Ultra Food. This restores 1 health on demand when you use it. Note that all of these items stack and max at 3 in your inventory at a time, so you can regain 3 health out in the field by stocking up on 3 Ultra Foods. We have Dyna Punch. This adds 17 force points to your total, so you can use those special abilities. We have the Shop Call, so you can call the shop out and about in the field. There's only 1 static location for the shop, so make sure you've always got at least 1 of these before you leave the shop each time. The Micro Recorder, we use this to create a password so you can pick up your game later on. The Guard Crystal. This creates a protective barrier which absorbs damage. This can be useful for a few bosses early on in the game before you have a certain ability as well. The Rolling Star, the Powerball, and the Big Shot are all offensive moves which you can use in place of your attack. Note that the number which you get on each use of one of these, but I recommend making sure you have at least a couple of Big Shots in particular, but the others have their places every now and then. Moving on to more of the items for getting around, you have the Hyper Boots, allows you to jump higher and move faster. The Jetpack, this allows you to fly when you hold down that A button, just go around the screen. The Aqua Lung, this allows you to breathe underwater for a limited amount of time. And then the Super Suit protects you from all damage. You can survive lava when you're wearing this. This is required later on in the game, as is the Jetpack and the Aqua Lung actually. But yeah, make sure that if you got the cash, maybe you have a couple of each of these. They're useful for different stretches in the game, but there you go, the items you can purchase in the shop here in Clash at Demonhead.
Thank you, Blaze. And you can always pop down here for some easy on-demand health. Not that it's the most convenient, but certainly if you take some recent damage from these baddies that look like they could be from one of the early Mega Man titles. It's worth mentioning that unaccountably the item selection in the shop will vary from time to time. He'll be unaccountably out of certain items sometimes when you go in there, and if they don't have what you want, then you just go ahead and exit out and use a brand new shop call to kind of reset his inventory, and he'll probably have what you're looking for that second time for what it's worth. But trying to get out of the drink here as quickly as possible before we run out of our oxygen just in time right there. Not the worst idea to buy some guard crystals if he's got them, super suit, maybe some big shots, and plenty of health as we have our first boss coming up here soon. Again, the only instance where you don't need to use a call item from your inventory to bring in. This is our buddy dropping usually good items. Every now and then it'll drop in an enemy, but yeah, and for whatever reason we get it to drop some money on top of whatever it gives us by shooting it as well. So maybe that's why it brings in enemies. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm judging it now that I think about that. Yeah, these feel very Mega Man. Mega Man, probably 2, 3, somewhere in that pocket types of enemies here, but anyway. Yeah, so very important, as Blaze mentioned, that you always have a shop call before you leave the shop, otherwise you gotta trek all the way back here to re-up your supply. Not the best. So we're headed to Route 11 now, and we're about to take on, as we're using that skipping on the water mechanic right here, just little shallow jumps to try to also keep a lower profile, as admittedly you've got enemies above you in most cases as well, so kind of a lose-lose proposition, but thankfully the routes themselves are pretty linear, getting from point A to point B, start to finish, and I like these guys. Look like they're ready for Mardi Gras, these baddies right here. Yeah, and here's an instance where not dropping in a friend but a bomb, but nonetheless we can shoot him to, alright then, to grab ourselves some cash. 950 bucks, not too shabby. Speaking of not too shabby, let's go to him for the first time today ahead of our first boss. Here's Gary. It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters.
Alright, Gazh or Gazh, the first boss here in Clash of Demonhead, is actually one of the more difficult ones in the game. If you want to have some guard crystals, some big shots, not a bad idea. The big shot can be used to take out more of the spread of bullets, which Gazh shoots at you, but without any of that, the strategy is this. Just shoot out the bottom flame, which Gazh shoots at you, and then duck. And then you want to repeat that when the flames come back down. There's not always a bottom one when he comes back down, but still, just good to be ready for that. But yeah, you gotta be standing to take out that bottom shot, but then duck underneath so you can not get hit by the next one. And just shoot that boss as soon as he touches down. And once you get kind of cornered in that final third of the screen, you might want to start thinking about transitioning underneath that boss when they're up in the air to get to the opposite side. You should only have to do this once. You'll get enough shots in, but yeah, that's the strategy. Watch out for that bottom shot and the next shot there in the column every time. Shoot it out, duck underneath it respectively. Good luck, you'll take him down.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, don't be afraid to tap that B button to get some rapid, successive hits in on him. But we get our first medallion. Blaze?
Alright, the Royal Medallion, you need 6 of these in order to beat the game, but every time you grab one, this will also top off your health, so that's worth mentioning as well.
Thank you, Blaze. And I mentioned Mega Man earlier. These look more like Lolos who have, I don't know, taken some sort of hallucinogen and spray painted themselves. Maybe they were huffing whatever. And I don't know, it's interesting to say the least. So many things about this game are very interesting. But we are moving right along to Route 9. This was a linear shot, didn't have any options other than turning around. Ultimately, we're trying to get to the dead end, which is kind of in that southeastern portion of the map, but right now we're taking Route 12, that diagonally cutting across route to save ourselves some time. Note that we will ultimately need to go down to kind of that corner area, but not yet, not just yet. You'll see some platforms every now and then. Note that if you drop down in a lot of these areas, every now and then we'll just have some sort of medical issue. It is related to the plot, I should mention. Don't worry, it will be addressed a little bit later. The developers didn't just decide that the protagonist was going to suffer from cluster headaches, although I wouldn't put it past them in a game as strange as this. I want to mention, though, I mean, obviously there's water down there. Note that these missiles linger a little bit when we explode them with a shot, but in cases where there are pits, not really instances where you can fall to your death, but rather it drops you down to a lower area, and then you gotta fight your way back to the exit, and it'll basically start you back at the map route selection screen. So, just kind of a waste of time in most cases to drop down, so avoid that whenever possible. Gonna be some relatively tricky platforming coming up a little bit later, but as mentioned, we want to go down to this dead end in the southeastern region of the map. So Route 17 it is, and we're gonna crouch walk to the right here. Very slow. There's gonna be more of those guys waiting for us, so difficult to avoid damage, even with the opening here, but thankfully not too many instances of enemies, and they're generous enough with the health they give back to you in this stretch. But yeah, this is a bit of the tricky platforming which I was referencing. I'll show you the best way to approach these jumps. You'll find that the physics are, it's Clash of Demonhead physics, where we can literally just have 1% of our entire body, just one pinky toe on the edge of this platform, and somehow we're anchored down, we're alright. This one you want to give a couple sequences before you can make that jump safely right there, but yeah, that is a frustrating sequence. If you want to go ahead and use a jetpack, if you got one, not the worst idea in the world. You can call in your shop before you attempt that. You should have the cash for it. It's a sprite. It's Faysha. You must get to Route 35 quickly. Beastly devil Rowdey is there, and he's kidnapped the Hermit. Open the passage to Route 35 beneath the falls. Thank you very much, Faysha. Alright, so the waterfall is actually in that corner, which is not too far from here, actually, that I referenced a moment ago, so that's where we're going to be heading. So in this case, let's just go ahead and drop down. You'll get this little interesting expression on Bang's face right there, but immediately start moving to the left here to avoid all those kind of non-gravity obeying boulders right there. And this time we're going to go south at this junction, down to the corner where the waterfall exists. Yeah, those hover Lolos that are tripping on something come in all varieties, all colors. Huffing something. So we can drop down. We have a little note right here, by the way. I'll send money. Don't worry about Mary. I'll take care of her for you. Just hang in there and fight, Jake. Why do I feel like, yeah, I know, Jake's really hot. I do not feel comfortable leaving Mary alone with him. But if you want to drop down in that one little section we just passed, you can grab yourself some hearts for what it's worth, but we're just going to keep pressing on. We're pretty good on health. You'll find there are admittedly more gold bars spread out around the game. I doubt you would find 99 just through the course of playing this game, especially if you know where you're going, like you should following this walkthrough. But now here we are. We're going to head to 6, but we'll find if we drop down at the very start, this is the waterfall, which Faysha was referring to. And because we saw her, we can now access the entrance right here, which would otherwise be inaccessible to us. To the developers' credit, they do put in a number of hints telling you some of the people that you need to find, and in some cases some of their locations as well into the game's manual, so you're not completely in the dark. They give you a little bit of help. Stretches like this are frustrating though in the water, as even if you're constantly firing, the enemy will pretty much always get a shot off on you, and then you gotta get into that jump to avoid it, but then you might go back under the water, and I digress. Anyway, this looks like the forest section a little bit from Battle of Olympus. Another underrated NES title. I suppose I'd call this underrated. I feel like more people know about Clash of Demonhead than they... Just what the heck? What is going on with some of these enemies? Giant mutated monkey with a little hat. Anyway, let's go back to Gary.
Boss beaters. Alright, first thing to mention about Rowdey is you want to jump left and kind of arc to the right as he goes underneath you at the start of the battle. But beyond that, after that last boss, Rowdey is embarrassingly easy. You just gotta get down, fire away at his shoes, you'll take him down before he can even get back to you. It's pretty silly.
Shoes, claw feet, I don't know, whatever you want to call those. Thank you very much, Gary. And we've rescued the, well, we've retired that trope, but we've rescued the Hermit now. He grants us the power, 1 of 5, this one, which we can access via our item menu like everything else. Just go down to his little face now. And this first one is just about shrinking, micro power, and we need it, as he mentions, to get out of here, and this will be in effect until we take damage, like so. And this looks straight out of the ice level in Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu. Another game which we've done a class on, same as Battle of Olympus. You can check them out via the playlist in the description. 2 of my favorites for the NES, by the way. You'd see we're just kind of tanking our way through here, not worrying too much about taking damage. Hearts are relatively easy to come by. It's not really the difficult part of this game. So there is a pool of lava waiting for us at the bottom of this area, so we probably want to avoid that. We need to get to the opposite side and climb our way up, so I just like to jump around the corner from the start there above the door, and then climb up a little bit, drop off onto that little platform, and just make your way across, noting that those platforms will slowly start to sink as you apply weight to them, and we just slowly climb out to the top of the volcano here. Ain't easy, saving the day, saving the world. And mind these baddies here at the start, and we're heading to the left here. Making some cash along the way. Should be doing pretty decently in the cash department at this stage of the game. We'll let you know if you need to make any purchases upcoming, but yeah, just an observation. Yeah, some of these bad guys just looks like they would have come out of where the wild things are. beloved children's book from Maurice Sendak. There's a couple cutaways in the ceiling leading to other cabins. We're going to ignore this first one. Actually, we can ignore them both, but we're going to go ahead and help out this guy nonetheless in this next cabin being guarded by a few of these Mardi Gras looking guys. I don't know. I feel like everybody in this game could be en route to Mardi Gras. All the baddies. Yeah, pop in here, be ready to fire. A couple of them at least. Not sure how secret our group is if we keep telling everyone about it, Bang, but yeah, this guy will tell talking time. I was forgot that they referred to it as talking time. Yeah, he'll just tell you to go see the Hermit if you haven't already. We've already done that, but to avoid this pit, I want to get on this top platform right here, this dropping, and then right at the edge, make a full jump, and you'll just have enough to get across there. And now we're going to cut across to Route 7 to take on our next of the governors. Here in Clash of Demonhead, one of the more interesting bosses of this game. Well, I guess they're all pretty interesting. It is still Clash of Demonhead, but he's right inside here. So let's go back to Gary now for tips on this one. Gary, what do we do?
Boss beaters. Right, Max can't hurt you until he gets to his full-size form. So just keep left and right shooting away as he grows, a little bit bigger each time. Once he gets to his full size, he'll float up into the air and start sending out those little mini baddies. At this point, you just want to crouch walk underneath the center of them as they jump over you, take them out. You might get hit once or twice, but beyond that, not too bad. You'll clear them out. At this point, it's just the big man when he comes down, the now big man, in Max. And you just want to, it's kind of the same strategy. He's going to jump over you and charge at you. You just want to jump, get those shots in like we show, kind of crouch walk more towards the middle of the room so he'll jump again. You're in a position to not take any damage, but repeat this process, you'll take him down.
Good call, Gary. It's like he's on roller skates right there. Just gliding. That mouse just keeps moving. Yeah, just repetitive, getting those shots in the mouth. A little unforgiving with the alignment. Yeah, if you got any special weapons that you want to pull out at this point, big shot perhaps, go to it. But that medallion to top off our health is very welcome in that instance. So now we're going to work our way back to that original junction and head east this time to make contact for the first time with Michael, en route to making contact with him a second time in order to get an important item here in Clash of Demonhead. So just a couple routes to backtrack here, or, well, you'll see we're backtracking here in just a second, but let's go to him for the first time today for some facts. Fluff, can you please provide a little bit of context as to what's going on here? I know we saw the intro, but what do you got?
Clash of Demonhead is a 1989 action-adventure title for the NES from developer Vic Tokai. The game tells the story of Billy Big Bang Blitz, a sergeant in the Special Assault Brigade for Real Emergencies, or SABRE for short, who was on a mission to rescue the Clue-inspired Professor Plum, the creator of a Doomsday Bomb which could destroy the entire world. Bang goes on a journey to acquire the 6 medallions which can disarm the Doomsday Bomb, each kept by a different governor of Demonhead. With non-linear, open-ended Metroidvania-style gameplay, a variety of strangely animated, named, and acting characters, quirky dialogue, and the occasional fourth wall breaking, this is definitely one of the stranger titles on the NES, albeit one worth playing.
Yeah, there's really nothing to like in Clash of Demonhead 2, class. I mean, I'm open to suggestions. What would you call some of the weirder titles on the NES? And just kind of using Clash of Demonhead as the template for that. Maniac Mansion gets a little wacky, but, you know. Maybe it's less foreign to me because I played that game a lot more as a kid, was much more familiar with it, but take Route 3 now to get our first brush with Michael. And then we'll seek him out in his next location to learn just what's going on again. Got to do some things in this game in a certain order. It's a little tricky, and again, the manual does reveal some of this to you. And the trick for dealing with a lot of these enemies is just knowing their basic patterns, and yeah, duh, obviously Professor, but yeah, in this case, there he is, with his stereotypically French mustache, and I don't know, has he got some makeup, some blush on those cheeks? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, we already saved Faysha, so we're good on that front, but yeah, it's just about knowing if an enemy's gonna jump, and if you want to shoot or need to shoot standing and straight ahead, or if it's more of a crouch jump situation, or if you have to do a little hop before you take a shot. I do like the jump physics in this game though, with pressing down with different amounts of pressure and length on that A button to achieve different heights of jumps. And he's got a decent jump as well, like games where the playable character has a lot of hang time. This game being one of them. That being said, his hang time, if you will, just how much vertical he gets on that jump, it can kind of be a little bit misleading when you think that you can make the length of a jump that you actually can't. So, like that platforming area with the moving platforms before, showing you how to do that. But so now we are ultimately kind of retracing our steps still, and in this case trying to unlock some new junctions, which we have not yet been to. I guess in this case we have still been to the exit here with Route 20, but now we want to go to Route 20 for the first time, heading west instead of east, where we rescued that, well, Faysha, I suppose, the fairy, initially. I appreciate the different designs, though, and the many different routes here in Clash of Demonhead. A lot more stone, granite, hills, and mountains here in Route 20. Short as it is, but we're now going to head to, again, you can always tell there's something with these dead ends, these little cul-de-sacs, if you will. And can't quite make that jump, but you can do it from the water if you want to go ahead and equip some like a jetpack or something. There's a decent bit of this going on as you're dropping back into the drink again and again and again here. Yeah, we're gonna run into Michael once again, who will tell us some valuable information at the end of this area here. There you go, skipping off the surface of the water. Doing the splash jump, or whatever it was called in Mega Man X2. Like a mosquito on the surface. You know, these enemies fly in, drop down once they're above you, and then make a hard dash at you. But here's Michael once again. Was he wearing that kind of cat eyeshadow before? So Michael is telling us about an important item, the magic stone. Share the treasure. I don't know. I feel like we're the guy with the gun, so maybe we'll just keep it, but alright, so there you go. We'll need to come back here once we have the magic stone, but Blaze, can you tell us more about it?
Alright, the magic stone, primarily used for opening otherwise inaccessible doors here in Clash of Demonhead.
There you go. Yeah, we'll use it on one of those wells right behind Michael once we get it. So at this point in the game, if you've played similar to how we have, just, you know, taken out enemies mostly for self-preservation, you have likely collected pretty much the max amount of money at this point, with the $99,990 that we're showing right there, which I referenced earlier on in talking about the cover art for this game. So let's go ahead and call in Ron Jeremy and make use of his shop on demand here, and basically just buy up 3 of everything that he's showing right now. Again, his inventory will vary from visit to visit. He's a little stingy on the Dynapunch sometimes, but he's out of the rocket pack at the moment. But basically just want to buy up everything that we possibly can. And again, remember, everything maxes out at 3, so it's not like you can spend really more than probably 50 grand to begin with. Thereabouts, maybe 40 grand right there. But the reason we are doing that right now is because we are about to have a bit of a windfall, as we're going to trade in our gold here very shortly. And the process for trading in gold is interesting. It's a casino, essentially, where the exchange rate which you get for each bar of gold will basically vary each time you go into the casino. It's a weird way of doing it, not gonna lie. One thing at a time, though, as we're heading west to Route 18 now. And, oh, that's great. So Mary's been kidnapped. But Jake was taking such good care of her. So, yeah, he may have hit on her and allowed her to be captured by the enemies. Like these oversized guys in general. Just makes for a nice wide target to attack right there. Whether they're the giant monkeys and their little hats, which don't really fit their heads, or these guys in their suits here. And yeah, just can't make these jumps on our own. Thankfully, there's very few jumps in this game which are impossible to make without the assistance of... honestly, we only need the jetpack very late in the game, so there's not really any jumps per se, which you would need any assistance for. You can get through the whole game without using any of those hyper boots, but going to continue heading west here with Route 19. Should mention another reason that we went ahead and spent as much money as we possibly could is because we're just sitting on that max of 99,990 before, and well, I think we can all agree that's not doing anyone any good, so go ahead and spend it now. Items are not hard to come by in this game, just at the very earliest part, but these kind of mollusk-looking enemies here remind me of kind of the scrubber enemies from Mickey Mousecapade a little bit as well. Just willing to assume at this point that developers, like a lot of NES developers back in the day, ripped off every other game that they played and just worked all those ideas in. And just skipping across the surface of the water here, low skips to avoid most of the damage. And then finally out to the other side. We're going to go Route 28 here, where we're going to battle our next boss, actually. And to get to this boss, you're going to need the Aqua Lung. And you can stay on the surface of the water if you want to conserve some air. If you drop down a little prematurely, you'll find a couple of hearts right there and some gold. Come up for a second to preserve some air, but then push back down to the right to find your next boss here. Are there 7 medallions? They're not limited to the number of governors. Stupid. That's always the tone that I imagine comes out there, but Gary, tips on this one.
Boss beaters. Shark's not difficult really at all, especially if you have full health. You don't really need strategy if you come into this one with full health. Just fire away. When you get a shot in on Shark, they're going to get one of those kind of columns of shots off at you. You want to take out the top one and then go up into the, whichever direction. But yeah, just want to get above the rest of those shots after you clear out that top one. Just repeat this process, and remember, as soon as you take them down, you're going to get that health topped off with the medallion, but at the end of the battle, make sure you get out of there, as your oxygen's probably going to be dwindling at that point. Good luck.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, not difficult in the least, and like you said, just grab that medallion and you're good on health once again. But just continuing on to the only way that you can go at that point after clearing Route 28 on the 22, where we'll finally get to exchange our gold here, but first, getting a signal. When the operation is over, join us behind the mountain from the commander. You mean the operation of us exchanging our gold for cash? It's cash for gold. Just 20 years before those really annoying commercials were a thing, but one more call to absolutely purchase up everything that Ron Jeremy has in stock here. As depending on how the next part goes, we may have maxed out money once again. So, again, you might want to grab a couple calls and absolutely make sure in case he doesn't have certain things in stock. But Susie's exchange shop, as you can see, you have a well, not a 50-50 chance. You have a 50-50 chance of getting one of the different amounts here, but 1,000 is the most that you can possibly get. It's just completely random. We lucked out there. So we have exchanged our 99 bars of gold for 1,000 apiece, so we are maxed out on cash once again. But yeah, it can be $500. It can be as little as $200, I believe. So it just really depends on what you draw right there. But we got lucky. Not that, again, money's that hard to come by, especially in the later stages of this game when we're just kind of stacking items on top of items and have more money and items than we know what to do with at this point. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and use your jetpacks in particular for getting through these stages a little more safely and a lot quicker, as the speed, it's like the hyper shoe speed basically, but you can also fly, so I recommend that. Speaking of things which I recommend, if we check out our Hermit Force abilities now, you'll see that we have unlocked Teleport. We'll use that in just a moment, but I'm gonna just keep pressing on to the east here to unlock a couple more of these junctions so we can access them later to make things easier. But ultimately we're gonna be moving west to east now and going to find one ally of ours in particular who is in a bit of a bad spot right now, honestly. Our buddy Joe. We got a lot of buddies. Jake, although I'm a little hesitant to call him as such after the backstory which I established earlier, but yeah, it's an easy pass through, as you can see. And let's just call in the shop now because I just feel uncomfortable having the maxed amount of money in my pants at any one time. Just making sure that we're full up on all of these. He must not have had a couple of these in stock last time we tried. Haven't really needed to use the micro recorder just yet. Oh, I should mention, I always forget this, but he will buy back stuff from you with a $2,000 discount on his side. So yeah, it's not really worth it, but if you're really hard up for cash and you're thinking, well, I shouldn't have gone all in on all these hyper boots or anything, you can go ahead and do that. But just curious to see how much mileage we can get out of the miniaturized. All right, the water will do that to us. How many times has it happened, class, that I call something out and immediately am made to look foolish here in these classes? But anyway, have just enough height there to clear the edge of the water. It's not as annoying as, say, Little Nemo getting out of the water. To reference another one of my favorite action platformers on the NES. Our friend shouldn't be too far from here at this point. Should just be the next area. At this next junction. Up ahead here. Here we are. Down here in the corner, down in 32, we will find our buddy Joe. Looking a little worse for wear. But it's a very long linear shot to get to him, so let's bring Fluff back in to get another Fluff fact about Clash of Demonhead.
Many know the name Clash of Demonhead not from this game, but as the name of a rival band in the graphic novel series Scott Pilgrim, which was released between 2004 and 2010 and culminated with the film Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, also released in 2010. Scott Pilgrim author Brian Lee O'Malley has cited Clash of Demonhead as being the first NES game he ever played, and one which seemingly stuck with him. The parallels don't end there, though, as in Scott Pilgrim the titular character has to battle against his crush's 7 evil exes, similar to how Bang has to battle 7 governors here in Clash of Demonhead. Even the fictional band's drummer's name, Lynette Guycot, was lifted from the evil skeleton Tom Guycot from this NES title.
Still one of my favorite character names on the entirety of the NES library, and it's not like some banker or lawyer, it's a skeleton who's the chief of the governors, obviously. Anyway, let's go into our hermit powers now and finally teleport for the first time, and you'll see if you hit B, you can cycle between all the different junctions which you've already been to. In this case, I'm going to take it to the entrance of 32, basically that junction, but head to Route 36 this time, just to save ourselves a bit of time and getting to the next area we have not yet been. Again, we can't get any closer to our destination here simply because we haven't already been to the next junction, so that's why we gotta manually walk it from here. That's how the teleport works. And we're headed en route to seeing a governor who actually doesn't have a medallion. Not really worth our time, honestly, but we're showing you everything here. Any fans, by the way? Fluff mentioned the Scott Pilgrim there, graphic novel series. Any fans of that? I never read it, but I had a buddy of mine who was very much into it and was the reason that I went and saw the movie adaptation of it. Saw it with him in the theater. And, you know, just even if you're not familiar with the story, all the video game references, a lot of stuff in there which a lot of kids of the 80s and 90s will certainly get and appreciate, as was seemingly the case with its author. I can't imagine, though, this being the first NES game which he ever played. That would drastically warp my view of the entire world at that age, thinking, starting with this game and then playing something comparatively very bland in, say, a Super Mario Brothers game or something like that, you know? Thinking, oh wow, you got a giant fire-breathing reptile as the bad guy. Super Mario Brothers, where's your talking skeleton named Tom Guycot? Ridiculous game. See, most of the baddies in this game, not too challenging, a little repetitive, very Mega Man inspired. Stand by that assessment. Climb the top of the tower like something in a Bionic Commando here. And time for our next boss as we shoot the crap out of our girlfriend, Gary.
Boss beat her. After you take out Fake Me Out Mary, Pandar's gonna split to the top left and top right. I like big shot for getting a couple hits in, and then at which point we'll come down to the middle of the screen and start firing a line of projectiles at you. The big shot works for clearing these out and getting a shot at Pandar's head. Just want to get that little jump in and line it up so the spread of the big shot hits him in the head. It's also going to clear out all those shots from them. Once you run out of big shots, you can just, as you can see, do that little hop right there to take out the topmost of those shots. They'll all just fall down, then you can get a shot in on the head. Just repeat this process, you'll take them down.
Good call, Gary. Let's put that to practice right here. There's one shot. There's two shots, and then, yeah, once those shots hit the ground, there you go, clearing out the entire column. Just like Gary said with the big shot, just make sure you get the right amount of height. And there's no problem in that, but yeah, let's see. Once we run out of big shots. Feels a little bit like Rockin' Cats as well, something you'd see in the Playland level. Maybe that panda that was shooting plates at us, but anyway, there you go. Pandar. What a joke. At least he tops our health off for us. Let's go ahead now and warp, teleport if you will, to this kind of middle junction right here. And this time we're headed north. Hey, it's our buddy Michael. Beneath the lava over there is a magical stone. Is this story of treasure true? If so, I suppose I could get under the lava and say a super suit. Do you have some sort of endorsement with super suit that I don't know about, Bang? But yeah, once we get the stone, head to the well in Route 15. We were there earlier. I think this is where we made contact with Michael the second time, actually, but let's put that theory to the test. How about that? It's holding up pretty well. I mean, it will slowly get eaten away, as you can kind of see as we are making some contact with the lava, but dive underneath the lava right here to grab yourself the magic stone. Also get a couple extra points to our HP total. And now we're just going to back out the same way we came because there's another governor who is just one adjacent route back from the entrance to this, so we'll clean them out before we go ahead and make use of our new magic stone. back in Area 15 like Michael sort of told us to, or absolutely told us about. First things first, gonna head south to Route 16, and midway through this, or early on from this side, you'll see the entrance to another governor's mansion, if you will, all one rooms of it. And time for our next boss. Gary?
Boss beater. Alright, Mush is a little sneaky. There's a little misdirection as they're trying to trick you as to where their weak point is. It is the top of that mushroom head, actually the projectile, which he throws at you. So you want to hit the boss first, bait them into throwing that mushroom head, make sure you're against that leftmost wall, and crouch and just start firing away at that mushroom as it comes at you. You'll take out the entire boss after 1, maybe 2 at the most sequences of this. Not a difficult battle if you know what you're doing.
Thank you very much, Gary. That is sneaky. Because if you shoot the boss, they will kind of react as if they're taking damage if you shoot their body itself, but yeah, the battle will go on for a very long time if you're not aiming at the right spot. Sort of like attacking the Nightmare King's body, to reference another one of my favorites, and Little Nemo once again. Anyway, at this point, we can deal with some popsicle men. You can also go ahead and just warp outside of the junction of Route 15 at this point, since we were already there earlier, but we're going to get some fresh air and throw it back to Fluff once again for another Fluff fact about Clash at Demonhead.
As I mentioned earlier, Clash of Demonhead's developer was Vic Tokai, now known under the name Tokai Communications Corporation Incorporated, taking its name in equal parts from an acronym of Valuable Information and Communication, and its then parent company, the natural gas utility company Tokai Corporation. Vic Tokai began as a cable television service provider in 1977. They transitioned into developing online and graphics applications for office computers in the early 80s and expanded into video game development and creating games for arcades, consoles, and home computers in 1984. A few of their more notable titles they were the developers on include Golgo 13 Top Secret Episode, Kid Cool, and of course Clash at Demonhead. They continued developing mostly for consoles going into the 90s for the SNES, Game Boy, and Sega Genesis until their final title in 1997 when they abandoned games to focus on communications, at which point we don't care anymore. But for a brief window in the 80s and 90s, they developed or published several dozen gaming titles across the platforms of the day.
Thank you very much, Fluff. Got any Vic Tokai fans out there? Golgo 13 or Kid Cool? Any other titles that you're fans of from this developer? As we are back at Route 15 here, I'm going to head back. There's a couple of wells over here, which you'll recognize from when we had our second rendezvous with Michael here earlier on in the game. Might go ahead, since we're banging on that ceiling once again, the money ceiling, and go ahead, call in the shop, make sure that we are maxed out on everything. Get the big shot, get another call, obviously, but yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, trying to spend money. Trying to contribute to that child's college tuition fund. Can only do what we can do, though. Alright, so make your way over to the dead end on the far right side here, and jump on top of this right well and push down. With that magic stone, you'll just drop right in, holding to the right of the screen here. Pop in this door. And mind the, again, gravity-defying whatever those projectiles are, and climb in this tiny little opening. I always want to think that I can jump as high off of a wall as Bang can jump, but no, he just drops off for whatever reason. Guess it's a learned skill, and we just never learned it, so. Alright, so we're not going to bring in Gary for this, because this is one of those death by design type bosses right here. This is a little funky, and probably part of why this game has the difficulty that it does, because it's not always obvious where you need to go or what you need to do. Thank you, Michael. We will. It's Let's go ahead and use it from our inventory. Click on it. And hooked by greed at the door of deceit. It's the rebirth of the demons. On Route 39. Yeah, I guess we were trying to get some treasure from here. Like a toy, but failed. You were feeling pain in your head. Oh, right. See, there you go. That's why Michael was acting so strange. Demon or whatever you are. Let's dance. Oh, okay. You can see, and this officially doesn't count against our no death run. A by design death. Just can't get concerned with this demon that just killed me. I have my duty to take care of. So now just exit out the way that we came in. Such a strange game, class. I can't stress that enough. But work your way back out the way that we came in initially. Now we're finally going to start to head to more of the northern area of that map. We've pretty much exhausted everything else on the lower 2/3 of the map. And that northeast little triangle as well. Yeah, unfortunately, nothing we could do to put a decent dent into that boss. We'll have to maybe find some better equipment before we try taking him on, but drop down into this grimy looking pool here. Make sure you're equipped here. I guess we were about to be tapped on our last aqua lung, so it doesn't refill and immediately go to your next one, unfortunately. But anyway, take this off on the other side. Lovely cave. Some of the I love it. It's pink is what it is. A lot of the rock formations, the animations of those kind of remind me of Adventure Island a little bit. Picture Higgins going through. I mean, I say this game is difficult. It's not Adventure Island difficult. We have a health bar. That's the difference. And that game is very linear. There's no reason to compare the two aside from the caves look marginally similar here in this game. But come out the other side, and actually once we get out of this area, actually let's go ahead and call in our shop. Make sure we're topped off now that alright, they don't have the aqua lung, of course, but make sure we're topped off on everything else. Yeah. Got the calls. Alright. I think that's going to do it for us. Doesn't need to tell us every single time. We might as well use our Ultra Food and our Dynapunch, and then call them back in again. See if we can't get that third. There we go. Aqua lung. Did you just, have another buyer come in? I don't understand your restock policy there, Ron Jeremy, but... Alright, we're good and maxed out now. Minus the Dynapunch, obviously. At this point, we can definitely just, if you wanted to, just pound the Dynapunch and then go back to the shop, call it up once again, and just repeat that process to max out your force points. But hey, look, it's our old buddy Tom Guycot. Looks like Guycot is losing its strength. Wow, if something beat the snot out of Tom Guycot, I'm not sure I feel so. It's probably the guy that just beat the snot out of me, let's be honest. Alright, well, no need to beat a dead, I was gonna say horse, but skeleton named Tom Guycot. Anyway, we press on further east here, and once we get to the edge here, you can actually see where we are, or where we've been deposited, and here's Faysha. It's so terrible. I love Tom Guycot for some reason. Oh yeah, also the super powerful demon. Got any tips? Go see the Hermit. Alright, that's your answer to everything. Yeah, now we're up here in this little triangle in the northeast area of the map. You can go to 33 or 39, but honestly at this point, and you can see we can climb up this thing, but not really any cause to do it at the moment. We'll drop down there eventually. Can't do it right now. So we're going to call in our Hermit power here and use our teleport. We can also levitate now for what it's worth. It's not as good as the jetpack. Like, pretty much everything besides teleport, once we take damage, the effects wear off, so I just assume use the jetpack. We've got the money for it. But let's head back to the waterfall once again, where we can see our old buddy the Hermit. Unfortunately, this is the closest that we can get in expediting the process. And they take a little skip, little mud skipper skip, and then make a beeline for us on the ground. I swear they're just working in new enemies that we didn't see before. I guess strictly speaking, we came in from the top right last time when we were coming into the waterfall. This time we're coming in from the bottom left. But yeah, you'd think, given that the guy gave us the teleport spell, he could arrange us to be able to meet with him a little more easily, but maybe that's by design. He doesn't like to be bothered. Just a straight shot here. Not sure what that was. It's interesting. He has to keep readjusting his little hat. Anyway. Better have been worth it, Faysha. What do you got for us this time, Hermit? Demon is loose. Still can't move. Oh, I forgot about that. Alright. And then I guess I'll give him a pass. Yeah, we already got the magic stone. Route 40 and use the magic stone over the statue's chest. The sword of Apollo will come out. That's how I can win. I like, we haven't gotten full on fourth wall breaking yet. That will come, but I just like the final boss identifies himself as like, I'm the boss. And, oh, that's how I can win. Okay. That's the little things. Alright, so at this point we're just gonna go ahead and teleport as close to Route 40 via that junction that we can. And let's see, we could do that northmost kind of junction that we just passed. I think let's go the northeast one and take this different route to get over. This is Route 29 that we're taking here. To get over and grab ourselves the Apollo sword, just for something a little bit different. This is straight out of, this is like a Dr. Cossack level right here from Mega Man 4. For those who have played that game and get the animation reference right here. Looks very similar. Music's just not as good. Not a slight against the music, but in this game, but it's not Capcom good. I think we can all agree on that. A little repetitive too, I suppose. You get spoiled with a game like Mega Man where you get a different theme for every single stage. Just kind of restart this piece and hope no one notices most of the time. Especially with the turrets and the missiles and everything. Feels very kind of mid-series Mega Man on the NES. So now let's head north to Route 37 here. And ignore dropping down into that. There's no joy to be found. Unlike the waterfall en route to the Hermit. Eventually you will need to use an Aqualung here once the stage or the route here dead ends into a little pool on the right. So make sure that you've got one. I'm assuming you have 3 of everything at this point if you're in a similar situation as we are here. If you're playing along, drop underneath the waves, surface of the water, and just gonna hang on the top and always be shooting here. If I can put together a little makeshift Briggs note just for the cutting through of Route 37 here. Pop out the other side. Take off the Aqua Lung. And here we are. Now we can head up to Route 40, where we'll encounter a new baddie. I think this is our first instance of these guys. I like that. Something fresh. And this is a little tricky to get to. It most definitely is. So I like to jump from that well on top of the statue, then crouch down and kind of drop down and crouch to the right to get the heart, and then use the magic stone right there. And we now have access to the Apollo sword, and now we can head back to Route 39 and climb this, and this time once we reach the top we can drop down inside. But Blaze, how about that sword?
Alright, Apollo's sword, this weapon is exclusively for fighting the demon a little bit later on in the game, and yeah, Gary will give you some tips for that battle.
Thank you very much, Blaze, and yeah, actually let's bring him in right now as we're about to take on that boss, Gary.
Boss beater.
Alright, the demon can be tricky because your shields won't work against it, and every hit does a lot of damage to you with 2 blocks. So you just want to keep moving left and right like we show, firing those swords into the eye. That's how you can best also avoid those projectiles they send at you, but just keep bouncing back and forth, left to right, getting those jumps and those attacks in when you can to hit that eye. But yeah, keep this strategy up, you'll take him down.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, important to come into this battle with full health or as close as possible. Yeah, if you just keep moving, you can even bait some of those attacks if you figure out the rhythm which he's firing them at. At least in relation to that last one, but yeah, if you just keep moving, not too bad. And there we go. Wanna fight in that form, big man? Got a medallion for us? There you go. And drop down here. We can keep using the sword to eradicate these demon eggs. Make sure you take them all out to move on to the next area. We don't want a sequel, right? That's what we're doing right here, ensuring that there's never a Clash of Demonhead 2. But you'll notice your sword is immediately gone, never to be used for the remainder of the game from this point on, unfortunately. I guess bullets are pretty good, though. Throwing swords is good, but what are bullets if not tiny little swords, I suppose? We're getting close now, though, class. It's been a long one. And again, this is still pretty much the most efficient route to getting through this game. And yeah, if you've got the hyper boot or the power boots, I keep calling them the hyper boots, but I believe you can climb that wall. But just go ahead and use a jetpack now. Get out of here. This is why I recommend since when you got more money than you know what to do with, I just love using the jetpack for getting around. It's very choice. Alright, so that's just the sound of that projectile hitting the ground. Alright, I got confused before. There's only a couple more routes to go here. Just a couple more bosses as well. So we're gonna head to Route 30 now. Yeah, at this point, don't be afraid to use that jetpack. You should have more than enough money to keep your stockpile topped off. I will be re-upping it in just a moment, actually, en route to the final areas. Now we're heading north up to Route 21, where we have, I guess, our final governor, but not our final boss. So here's final governor's mansion here. It's got a bit more to it this time. Look at this. More than one room. Save the best for this guy, whoever he is. We're just having fun at this point. Zooming around. And here he is, the final governor. And I like that they update our little avatar to show what we're wearing right now. Bopper. Alright, with tips on Bopper, here's Gary.
Boss beaters.
Alright, Bopper. I like the jetpack here. It makes keeping up with the boss, following them around, making sure you always have line of sight to attack them a lot easier. Avoid their projectiles as well. But yeah, heal is necessary, but this boss isn't too bad, especially with the jetpack. Getting yourself in position, dodging attacks, take them down.
Thank you, Gary. And you can see just if you get up to that top left or top right little area there and crouch down and fire away, it's a lot easier to get a lot of hits in on him as opposed to getting shots in from the ground. But yeah, reach in your tool belt, whatever you want to use at this point, whatever special guns you want, go for it. Gonna make sure we're topped off once again, and I think I might, since we got so much money, might just go ahead and buy him out of Dynapunch and just keep pounding it like I mentioned, and go ahead and unlock the remaining of those moves from the Hermit. They only unlock once you hit the next cutoff point, so 200 for the second one, 300 for the third, even though they don't cost that many points. Really, the amount of force points which they take it's negligible, but yeah, we got still upwards of 60 grand here, so don't have any Dynapunch right now, unfortunately, but even though we don't need the remaining moves, we'll go ahead and show them to you. And this is a little annoying here. It's a lot of climbing, but probably 2/3 up this area, you got this one guy that will jump and cause like a miniature tremor, and for some reason it affects us in our jetpack. It makes no sense. This guy right here, you just want to kind of get lined up with him. Just hold that A button once you're right next to him and just fire away. Burn another jetpack here. Yeah, a little ridiculous that we're affected by. I could see, you know, you're losing your footing if you're on the physical ground right there, but if we're hovering around, not sure how that's our problem. But there you go. Put enough shots into him and he'll go down, and you can continue flying up to the top here. And then you'll get to an area where the only way to go is up, and it's one of the few times when you literally need the jetpack. It's the only way to progress right here. Up through this little cutaway area. Maybe there is no camp at the top. Now you gotta look a little bit higher, Bang, but before we do that, we're gonna make sure that we are topped off with our force points, show you those remaining 2 abilities which we unlock, or at least identify them. They're kind of useless. Unless you make it a point to do this, you probably won't get this many force points, at least if you play this game, you know, relatively efficiently. Maybe you pick up enough of those Hermit apples over the course of the game, but yeah. Depending on your mileage, you know, you might be warping more or less than we are, but just keep grabbing these Dynapunches for, I think it was 17 a pop. So we already had the first 3 abilities, so we need to get and break that 400 force point threshold, which we just did, and then we'll do the last one at 500 here. Can't take the money with us. I guess we could take Mary somewhere nice after this mission, but whatever. We want to show you this last kind of useless ability here, because you won't unlock it until very late in the game anyway, and you don't really need it, to be honest, so. We're close, though. 425, this will be another 51 points, so 76. 2 more will get it done. You can actually go over 500, so if you use all 3 of these, we should have a little over. But yeah, 500 is how much we need to unlock that final Hermit ability. Let's just make sure that we're maxed out on... yeah, he's out of the Dynapunch anyway. Alright. It's not like we need this for the the final bosses. Let's just show you what we got. So we got Micro Power, Teleport, Levitation obviously, Energizer, Reach Full Power, and then Karate Power. So the Energizer is just topping off your health on demand, so that's kind of useful. But let's use a Rocket Pack, and then we'll use some Karate Power, just as a gag, to disrespect this boss here. But let's get Gary in for the non-disrespectful alternative method.
Boss beater.
All right, Bopper, round 2. I guess you have 2 options here. You get on that platform and crouch and fire away at his head to quickly take him down. Or if you're like the professor and want to have a little fun, you can disrespect him with a little karate power. Just slap him around while you enjoy that invincibility. But yeah, not difficult no matter how you approach this one.
Yeah, it's been a long game. I'm definitely up for the disrespectful route at this point. I like kicking him like Jackie Chan's action kung fu. Like we're doing that mini game with the little ball projectile type things that you gotta keep off of the floor. But anyway, Professor Plum doing his little I'm out of jail dance, I assume. Yeah, how do we put the medallions together? There is kind of a novel little mini game or something at the end. Oh, alright, Professor Plum. We got one last boss though before that. Gary?
Boss beater.
All right, always nice when a boss identifies himself as the boss. But this is essentially the final boss here in Clash of Demonhead, and they're not too difficult. I like the jetpack for getting in position to fire out that right orb on the boss. You can use the hyper boots as well, but I like just getting in position, holding that A button, and firing away. And then you can just climb over on the left side or use whatever jetpack you got left to repeat it on that side. Take out the turret with the same strategy. Not difficult in the least. Congratulations.
I was like talking time after taking down the final boss. Thank you very much, Gary. And the final bit of this is to insert the medallions into this machine, the Doomsday device, to disarm it. And it's one of these kind of puzzle mini games. If you've ever seen one of these before, it's kind of like I'm pretty sure there's been game shows that have been of this theme. But as we'll get there and just crawling there. But you gotta put the medallions into the machine in the proper order in order to disarm it, and the order will change every time. It's always random, so this won't work for you, but I just like to go left to right. It'll tell you which ones you got correct, and then just basically move over one to the right, try them all over again. Admittedly, you only have so many turns to get it right and actually disarm it, and if you don't do it, or if you run out of time, then, well, let's enjoy the ending for the moment, and then we'll have Fluff explain to us what happens if we biff up the ending. And this is very Jackie Chan's action kung fu. There's what looks like the sensei guy on his cloud. Pretty sure they took 5 games and made Clash of Demonhead, and that's fine. It's a lovely game, but that's definitely what happened. Anyway, all that's missing is us looking longingly into the eyes of Mary for the outro here. Unfortunately, I have to report that the professor is dead. Oh, we got out. Alright, good. That was a fake me out professor. That's good. Kind of like we were shooting at a fake me out Mary earlier. We assumed. We had a hunch. Yeah, it's always a bummer in the professor community when one of our own goes down, so that's good. What's this, Commander? Bang, your bat went. Did you just realize I flew down here on a cloud like 30 seconds ago? Love, Mary, love. Seems like you've had a good experience this time. I don't know if it's a bad translation or if the writing was always this weird. Either is equally plausible as they kind of shoehorn a message in. Gotta use signs correctly. Gotta go, farewell. Anyway, Fluff, what if we screw up the Doomsday Bomb?
If you either run out of chances in inputting the correct combination, or simply run out of time before you can figure it out, the bomb will explode in classic NES seizure-triggering fashion before showing you the same ending screen that you get with the good ending, minus the characters in the shot because, once again, everyone's dead.
Good call, Fluff. Well, big thanks to all my TAs today. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to enroll in this class. We do one of these classes every single week in the same spot. Love to have you enrolled. Click that like button too if you don't mind. Really does help us out to make future classes for you. But it's a weird game though, right? It's not just me. Anyway, we'll see you all next week in the same spot for next week's class right here on Video Games 101. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.